Aryna Sabalenka has a request for Martina Navratilova after reaching the Indian Wells semifinals. Aryna Sabalenka just continued to win tennis matches at a rate that is truly astonishing. It really feels like almost nobody can stop her, having breezed into the Indian Wells semifinals with minimal fuss and without dropping a set. Even Victoria Mboko, who is playing with so much youthful freedom and exuberance, was no match for the world number one. Aryna Sabalenka spoke courtside after the match to Sky Sports, and actually had Martina Navratilova to thank for this latest win. Aryna Sabalenka reacts after reaching the Indian Wells semifinals. She began by reacting to her latest tiebreak triumph, having now won 25 of her last 28 breakers. However, Sabalenka turned to Navratilova during her analysis to request that she return for the rest of her matches, stating, "Honestly, I don't know. I'm just trying to stay aggressive, trying to stick to my game plan, and play point by point without thinking about the tiebreak. And also, to be honest, I saw you Navratilova before the tiebreak, and I knew it's a good luck sign, so lucky me, I got the win 7. But can you please be more at my matches?" Navratilova, laughing, then asked Sabalenka how it feels to be so dominant in this particular area, noting, "You know, I used to be embarrassed when I got into a tiebreak, right? Because I felt like, actually, I should have won the set already by now, but this is exactly where you want your opponents, because your record is so good." Sabalenka replied, "Well, yeah, at the same time, I had so many opportunities to break, so many of them, and couldn't convert them. So I felt a little bit like that, like I could have closed it a bit earlier, and probably be in the locker room by now. But it is how it is, and I know that, probably, most likely, they feel extra pressure playing a tiebreak against me, so it's kind of like an advantage to my side. Not that I'm focusing on that, but I see, like, those small mistakes that are really crucial on the tiebreak." The Belarusian concluded by outlining how important winning the title at Indian Wells would be. "Yeah, it's gonna mean the world. It's gonna prove that if you never give up, you will achieve your goals. And that's the mentality I'm trying to bring on the court, always fighting, always trying, no matter what the past holds. I'm trying to come back and be better." Sabalenka pointed out what she loved about Mboko's tennis before their match, and after such a hard-fought encounter, that adoration will surely only have grown. Martina Navratilova reacts to being called Aryna Sabalenka's good luck charm. Naturally, Navratilova was delighted to have been branded Sabalenka's good luck charm. However, she was actually scared that she'd upset the 27-year-old, recalling the stare she was given mid-match. The 18-time singles major champion claimed, "No, the broadcasters wanted me to talk during the point, and then she looks at me, I'm like, oh my god, I felt like I was in school. But it picked her up, so I was like, I'm so sorry. I did not know I was a good luck charm, but I'm happy to be that for her, because she's a great player, and she's a fun person, and good for all the kids growing up, so I'm happy to be a good luck charm." A champion's voice. Sabalenka's request after the Indian Wells breakthrough. The desert air at Indian Wells carries a particular kind of tension. It is not the suffocating pressure of expectation alone, nor simply the thrill of elite competition. Instead, it is the quiet understanding that careers can pivot here, confidence can surge, doubts can dissolve, and the world of tennis can suddenly look very different for the players who walk onto those sun-soaked courts. For Aryna Sabalenka, reaching the semifinals of the Indian Wells tournament was more than another result on the calendar. It represented resilience, growth, and perhaps most importantly, a moment of reflection about the journey that had brought her to this point. The Belarusian powerhouse has long been known for her explosive game. Her serve can feel like thunder, her ground strokes like lightning. Opponents know that when Sabalenka finds rhythm, rallies become a storm few can weather. Yet tennis, like life, rarely rewards power alone. It demands patience, emotional control, and the ability to evolve. Indian Wells seemed to capture that evolution. Across the tournament, Sabalenka displayed not only the familiar aggression that fans expect but also a measured composure that hinted at something deeper. Between points, she appeared calmer. In difficult moments, she paused, regrouped, and returned with renewed purpose. The result was a string of victories that propelled her into the semifinals of one of the most prestigious events outside the Grand Slams. But what made her run particularly interesting was not just what happened on the court. It was what happened after. Following her semi-final qualification, Sabalenka spoke candidly about inspiration, legacy, and the voices that shaped the modern game. Among those voices, one name stood above the rest in her mind: Martina Navratilova. Navratilova, one of tennis's most iconic champions, has long been a presence in the sport, not just through her record-breaking achievements but through her analysis, advocacy, and unwavering opinions about how tennis should grow. For generations of players, she represents more than history. She represents wisdom forged in decades of competition and change. Sabalenka's request toward Navratilova was both respectful and revealing. She wanted guidance. Not in the mechanical sense of adjusting a forehand grip or altering a serve toss. Sabalenka's team already handled those details. What she sought was perspective, the kind that only a legend who has seen tennis transform across eras could provide. Sometimes, Sabalenka explained in interviews following her victory, you want to hear from someone who understands the game at a deeper level. Someone who knows what it takes to stay at the top. The request resonated across the tennis world. It reflected humility, an acknowledgement that even the most powerful players continue learning. In an age where athletes are surrounded by data analysts, performance coaches, and sports psychologists, Sabalenka's gesture toward one of the sport's all-time greats felt almost old-fashioned. It echoed a tradition where champions sought wisdom from those who paved the path before them. For Sabalenka, the motivation was clear. Her career had already been filled with dramatic highs and painful setbacks. Early in her rise, she dazzled fans with fearless hitting but struggled with consistency and nerves in the biggest moments. Critics wondered whether she could transform raw power into sustained dominance. Over time, however, she began answering those doubts. Her improved serve mechanics reduced double faults that once haunted her matches. Her mental resilience strengthened under pressure. Perhaps most importantly, she embraced the reality that greatness in tennis is rarely built overnight. It is sculpted slowly, through adaptation and reflection. Reaching the Indian Wells semifinals symbolized that process. The tournament itself holds special meaning in tennis. Often called the fifth Grand Slam, it gathers the sport's best players in a setting that blends spectacle with intensity. Winning matches there demands both physical endurance and emotional clarity. Sabalenka's performance demonstrated both. Throughout the week, she navigated